Okay, so I'm looking at a product listing right now, and honestly, it's one of those that really tests your patience as a consumer. It's an HDMI cable.
Just an HDMI cable.
Right. Specifically, the Key Digital KD AOCH66P. It's 66 feet long, which, sure, that's substantial, but the price tag is sitting at about $315.
Yeah, that is a number that definitely demands an explanation.
That's putting it mildly. I mean, most of us are used to grabbing a cable for what, 10 bucks? So the mission for this deep dive is pretty simple. Using the tech specs, we have to figure out why this cable costs as much as a small TV. What are we actually paying for here?
Well, you're paying for a way to get around the laws of physics, really.
Okay.
See, a standard copper HDMI cable, it works fine for, 6 feet. But when you try to push a huge 4K signal, 66 feet, that's 20 meters. Copper starts to act like a resistor.
It fights back.
It creates friction, exactly. The signal degrades. You end up with we call sparklies or dropouts, or sometimes just a black screen.
So this Key Digital cable isn't copper.
Not for the important parts. The AOC in the name stands for active optical cable. The really heavy data channels are actually fiber optic.
Ah, so it's using light.
Right. It converts the electrical signal into light, shoots it down these tiny glass fibers, and then converts it back at the other end.
So light equals speed.
Right equals integrity. Light doesn't have resistance like a copper wire, and maybe more importantly, it's totally immune to electromagnetic interference.
From like power lines and lights in the ceiling.
Exactly. Run a copper cable next to those, and that noise just bleeds into your picture. Key Digital calls their solution for this open-eye technology.
No, that sounds like marketing fluff to me.
It does, I know, but it actually refers to a specific engineering test. It's called an eye pattern analysis. You imagine the digital signal on a graph, and a clean signal looks like an open eye. If there's noise or jitter,
The eye closes.
the eye squints or closes, yeah. And that means data loss. This tech is certified to keep that eye wide open. 0% signal loss.
And that stability is what lets them claim these big numbers. I see 18 gigabits per second right here.
That's the magic number. That bandwidth is what gets you true 4K Ultra HD at 60 frames per second. But the real kicker in these specs is the color. 4.4.4 chroma subsampling.
You're going to have to unpack that one.
Think of it like this. Streaming services, to save bandwidth, often throw away half the color information. That's called 4.2.0. They assume your eye won't notice.
But this doesn't.
This cable moves the full, uncompressed color detail, 4.4.4. On top of that, it handles high dynamic range, your Dolby Vision, and HDR10.
So if I try to push all of that uncompressed color, 60 frames HDR, down a 66-foot copper wire.
That's like trying to force a fire hose of water through a drinking straw. The cable just physically cannot handle that much data. That's why you pay for fiber. It's also why it can handle Dolby Atmos and DTS HD Master Audio. It's just a huge data pipe.
I want to look at another letter in the model name, the P. The docs really highlight this. Plenum rated.
And this is where we shift from just performance to safety and legality. Plenum is the space above a drop ceiling in, say, an office building or a school. That space is often used for air circulation.
It's part of the HVAC system.
Exactly. So if a fire starts, a cheap plastic cable will melt and release toxic fumes. And because that plenum space circulates air, those fumes get pumped into every single room.
Oh, wow.
A plenum rating, specifically the CMP-FT6 UL rating this one has, means its jacket is fire retardant. It won't burn easily, and it limits smoke.
So for a commercial job, you're legally required to use something like this.
You'd be violating fire code if you didn't. So
Yeah.
part of that $315 is basically insurance against creating a serious safety hazard.
That explains the whole infrastructure feel. It mentions a 53-pound pull strength on the connector.
Which is huge for an installer, right? If you're dragging this through a wall, you can't have the head just snap off. You do have to be careful, though. It's directional.
Meaning it only works one way around.
That's right. Because of the active chips converting the signal, one end is marked source and the other display. You install that backward inside a wall.
And you're having a very, very bad day.
A very bad day. But at least it doesn't need its own power block. It's powered by HDMI, so it just sips the tiny bit of power it needs right from the source.
I see it also has the other stuff you'd expect. Ethernet channel, audio return channel, a 3-year warranty.
It checks all the boxes for sure.
So when you look at the whole picture, the fiber, the uncompressed bandwidth, the fire safety rating, that sticker shock does wear off a bit. This isn't for hooking up a game console in your living room.
No. This is for when failure is simply not an option. A boardroom projector, a university lecture hall, The cost of ripping a ceiling open to replace a failed $20 cable is so much higher than just buying the right cable the first time.
It's an investment in reliability.
It is, and it does bring up a pretty interesting thought for all of our setups at home. We obsess over screen resolution and the power of our devices. But as we move toward 8K and beyond, are we reaching a point where the physical pipes, the cables we never think about, are becoming the invisible bottleneck that's capping our entire experience?